Hello guys, what is happening and welcome to this video. So thank you for bearing with me there. Of course, when you go to look at something and it's like 2 minutes away, then that turns into 10 minutes because you know how these things go. They're never accurate. But funnily enough, I was just literally editing one of the videos, which is going to be coming out soon about fraud, and it's a two-parter and it's going to be fantastic. I mean, I just found it hilarious, some of the stuff I dug up. And going with the theme of fraud, we have somebody from the inside of the banking system who left a comment on the last video with some incredible insights into the financial system. So it was on the home equity line of credit video that we did last night. So make sure after this video, you go back there, and I pinned his comment and smashed the like button on his comment, because thank you, Alessandro, for leaving this comment. Absolutely fantastic, and gives us a lot of insight from the other side into what is going on, and confirming many of our suspicions. So before we get started, guys, please do your part and duty, which is hitting that like button below. You know how much I hate saying it. Don't shoot the messenger. Anyways, let's bring up his comment here because it's absolutely fantastic. Well, not fantastic in the content so much as fantastic in his insights about the financial system. So here we go. I previously worked for both TD and CIBC in real estate secured lending up until mid last year. Due diligence at major banks is a joke. Income verification is a vanity measure at best. Fake documents, question mark, no one will verify authenticity. As long as you have a piece of paper saying you make or made X amount of dollars, it's reliable. Down payment, question mark, show 90 days of deposit history, and that's it. Doesn't matter where the funds came from before that. And interestingly enough, I said about that last night that like if you just have your money in your account, the bank's not going to ask questions. They don't care. They just want to sell this loan. There's so many moral hazards in between you and that loan that really nobody gives a toss. So that's really the reality, and he's just confirmed it from the inside. So, just really, really incredible, isn't it, when you really think about it? Had money coming in from China, Russia, Dubai, etc., commonly to be used as down payments, and most of the time those statements weren't even in English. Isn't it funny? They mentioned Russia there, and everything that's going on in the Ukraine. Well, there's probably tons of money in Canada from Russia. They probably own lots of real estate here in Canada, and Canada's probably doing nothing about it. Because it's all virtue signaling, guys. They don't really care about Ukraine. And I hate to say it, but they're just using this as their pony show to make themselves look better. And you have to realize that. Like, I just have zero faith in any of the politicians. Don't get me wrong, like that Pierre Polivet or whatever his name is, he says all the right things. He says everything like I want to hear. But as a realist, I know the reality is he's not going to do those things that I want to hear. So like I see it from both sides. And like you want to believe that this guy is going to come in and change the system and do something radical. But as we saw with Trump, that just isn't the case that happens. They just come in and do exactly the same thing as the person before them for a different party. Anyway, so the Dubai, etc., commonly to be used as down payments, and most of the time those statements weren't even in English. As long as it shows 90 days, it's okay. Mortgage agents raking in massive commissions for falsifying documents for clients in exchange for a fee. Had one agent who was a friend of a colleague do 150 million in deal flow in 2020, earning 1.2 million in commissions. The guy was under 30, but as fraudulent as they come. One of the anecdotes that crossed my path from this was he managed to get an unemployed street level drug dealer approved for a mortgage under the premise that he was earning a verified 80K. This just reminds me of The Big Short and the strippers. Like, it's just like, what is going on here? It's like this movie is just on repeat in Canada, and I don't understand, like, anybody who can just sit there and say everything is okay. And that is just kind of insane. John, I saw you said that yesterday and I went through it, but I was like trying to figure it out. But I couldn't find him. Maybe I'm missing it. But if Pierre does follow me, that's interesting. You know, that's really interesting, actually. I mean, let's face it, he could be following this channel. Who knows? He could have heard what I just said and he's now deciding, I'm going to be the guy that's different. I mean, one can hope, but, you know, the reality is politicians just are always breaking breaking what they say. Kirsten, hello. I hope your power is back on and everything's going good with you. Nolan says it's going to be okay. Yeah, I also saw he said don't buy gold like a year ago. So yeah, don't listen to that guy. He's well, look, I'm not gonna diss him. I think that's pretty shallow if I go there. So, anyways, we'll leave him to it. He's doing a great job of reinforcing the recency bias for everybody. As for the CLP products, which is what we talked about yesterday, and again, Alessandro, thank you so much for writing this comment. We learn incredible amounts from the comments. We've already had another guy who works at a bank, I forget which bank, commented on previous videos. He works at a bank here in Alberta, and he said something along the lines, I'm trying to remember what he said, but it was incredibly insightful at the time as well. And I wish I'd done a video about that. But he was saying how they were laying off all the mortgage brokers, and they were worried about subprime loans that had been done, and the area manager was seriously concerned. And this is here in Alberta, where a lot of people are moving to, thinking, I'm really smart about this. I'm really smart about this. And, you know, I'm not saying that to be demeaning to these people. Like, you know, it's just the reality. Unfortunately, people think you put a lower sticker price on it, that makes it better, when in the reality, the quality just goes down. So as for the CLP products, banks are desperately trying to shove them down customers' throats. Basically, the strategy is to get every client to turn their home into an ATM machine. This was the rhetoric at both CIBC and TD. And any employee who quite clearly saw the ethical problem with this was not so gently pushed out the door. Isn't that insane, guys? So you don't agree with what we do here, whether it's ethical or unethical? Get out, you're fired. Just what the hell? And they've been trying to shove it down people's throats so they can turn their homes into an ATM machine. Well, they did a good job of that. Look at what happened in 2020 and 2021. And I believe we're just scratching the surface here on this channel. Here on this channel, we are literally uncovering more about mortgage fraud than the entire mainstream press here in Canada. So what does that tell you about the mainstream press here in Canada? What does that tell you about all the realtors here on YouTube? Like this, we're actually uncovering this. We're getting more information than we can, you know, and I can't thank everybody enough for sharing information like this. Again, thank you, Alessandro. You can borrow up to 80% LTV, much like a standard mortgage. However, 65% LTV could be in the form of revolving credit. As such, you now turned an $800K mortgage for $1 million home into a $650K revolving line of credit with no limitations on ease of access. And when you think about that, like that is really insane, because it's like we said, then when prices go down below that 20% mark, that's really where the risk starts just skyrocketing within the banking system, and then they have got to call in all these lines. They've got to call all these people up and go, hey, sir, can you give us 100K? Can you give us 50K? And they're going to go, no, I don't have that. Do you accept credit card? It's just like, I mean, that is literally, nobody has any money. And I don't think people have realized it yet. There is only one thing of wealth. Anytime you see wealth, you can pretty much assume it's credit here in Canada. It's not real. Show me the money, as they say. Because in a lot of cases, that's just not the case. And I've had conversations at our bank branch, which is in a pretty affluent area here in Calgary, and you wouldn't believe what the lady said to me. But I can't discuss anything like that, unfortunately. So anyway, I'll have to keep that one under wraps. I wish I could. Most commonly, we saw people use these credit products for large scale projects such as renovations, with the belief that they would translate into added value for their property, which only partially holds true in markets where real estate only goes up. Well explained there, exactly. We also had quite a few of the more well-off clients leverage them to use as down payments for properties. Surprise, surprise. Realtors, mom and pops, the neighbor's dog, you name it. Another practice we saw was people using, and this, I mean, you've got to listen to this, because until I read this comment, I had no idea about this. And I'm sure a lot of people, you guys didn't have any idea about this either. So listen to this. Another practice we saw was people using RSP contribution loans up to $50,000 for a 5% down payment on a property. Many clients didn't even know the major banks did RSP contribution loans until their mortgage agent / realtor told them about it for the purpose of scrounging up a down payment. Oh, it just gets worse and worse, doesn't it, guys? It just keeps getting worse with the leverage in the system. Like, I'm honestly telling you guys, I never envisioned it being as bad as it is. But since we started scratching the surface about this fraud over the past couple of weeks, I just keep seeing the same reoccurring themes go around in my head. And one thing that you're going to see from the fraud videos that are going to be coming out shortly on this channel over the next couple of weeks is you're going to see the same thing over and over again, which is people lying, that it's just become the norm now to lie and put 5% down on a property, even when it's an investment property. So you essentially lie and say, yes, it's going to be my principal residence, when it's actually not going to be your principal residence. You're going to be renting it out. Therefore, you should be putting 20% down and not be getting a CMHC mortgage. But oh no, people just lie. The banks don't care. Like, nobody assumes any risk for this, right? Because the banks, from the bank's perspective, it's a CMHC insured mortgage. They don't care. Like, the CMHC are paying when you default. So they don't care. They're a moral hazard. The CMHC needs to be scrapped. And I really hope it gets scrapped after this. Or restructured into something else. There should never be government insured mortgages. Are you kidding me? That puts a massive moral hazard in the financial system. And that's a huge liability for you and I, the taxpayer, which we're going to have to pay and clean up this mess. So it's a ridiculous concept. And when it comes to stuff like silver and gold, that is taking your money. If you buy physical silver and gold, and this isn't financial advice, but that's you really taking your power back, seizing your power back, because silver and gold, that's outside of the control of the financial system. That's not in a bank. The government can't see it. So that's your own bank, if you like, or whatever you want to call it. But silver and gold, they have been currencies for long before these fiat currencies that came around, since Egyptians and Romans, you name it. And go and look about what happened in Rome with silver when they started taking silver out the coins, and they just kept taking more and more and more to fund their war campaigns. And then that eventually led to the collapse of Rome. Now, that didn't just happen in 10, 20 years, though, did it? It happened over a long period of time. And what I'm trying to say, guys, is people think, oh, because it's happened for the past 10, 20 years, there's no way that that's going to change. And it's this recency bias that is just like a disease amongst people. They just think, oh, it's been like this, so it's always going to be like this. No, 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 no. You are looking at things in a bent perspective. And I know as many of you guys on this channel and gals are critical thinkers and logical thinkers, and that's what we aim to be, because you'll be able to see things for what they are, make better investments for yourself and for your financial future. And that's really what I hope for people on this channel, is that they become truly successful and wealthy. Most commonly, we saw people use these. Oh yeah, I've already read that, dummy. Edit. So he just added this. I don't think I read this. So wanted to add some info about the appraisal process. This is great insight. I can't thank you enough, Alessandro. In my 5 years between both banks, I've never seen an appraiser get back to us on a deal denying that the property is insufficiently valued to be used as collateral for a mortgage. Basically, the appraiser process guaranteed the appraisal value of the property would always be sufficient to how much clients were looking to borrow. There is a lot of cross-industry communication going on. This is interesting. The senior management and executives who head retail banking divisions and lending are in constant contact with the executive manager of Canada's largest realty associations. So essentially, they're all in bed with each other. The real estate associations, the banks, they're all in bed colluding to create this financial crisis. And I know it's not going to happen. And that's what annoys me the most about this, is like I'm saying, oh, yeah, I just hope that regulation comes in after this and, changes this. But the reality is, it's probably not, unless we get somebody who's really radical to shake up the system. Maybe Pierre is that guy. I have no clue, but I just have no faith in any politician anymore or what they say, because they constantly spew out this stuff and then they go back on it in an instant as soon as they're in charge. I mean, Trump is a great example. Trump was saying he was going to do all these things. He gets in charge. He just acts exactly like the guy before him. And, I still remember Trump in 2020 going to the Fed and saying, drop the rates, fire up the printing presses, stimulus, stimulus, stimulus. And, this completely goes against the whole Trump criticizing everything that happened after the global financial crisis, and then he goes does exactly the same thing. So really what you have to realize is the politicians are ultimately controlled by these banks and institutions. They've got so big, and the government gets their credit from these financial institutions. And that's what really a lot of people don't realize. The bond market, the people who are buying those bonds, they're mainly the financial institutions and the banks. So they are literally the creditor to the government. So it's, is there a conflict of interest there? Absolutely. It's insane. But this is the Ponzi system that we built here, which is entirely built on greed. It's just based around greed. But it doesn't last. And again, like I hate to keep beating this drum over and over again and saying it doesn't last, it doesn't last, it doesn't last. But that's the reality. It doesn't last. I feel like I have to say it so many times because I'm constantly reading on FinTwit idiots who are just like, yeah, it'll be back in 3 months. And you know what? Even if it were to be that and they were right and it came back in 3 months, what they don't realize is it's going to be short-lived and then it's going to go down again. Like the ending for this is a dead end. Like we're heading towards a dead end. And once you go through that sign in the bus, it's just a cliff. You go off the edge of a cliff and it's game over then. Like it's going to take a long time and there's going to be very little survivors to get up the other side of that cliff. And that's basically what I'm trying to say. So it basically saying that the appraising process guarantees the funds, but the senior management and executives who head up retail banking divisions, the fact that they're in constant contact with Canada's largest realty association, that should scare a lot of people. Why are the banks in bed with realtor associations? What's going on there? They don't want you to know this kind of thing. This thing is not in the mainstream media. Really, our only tool is sharing videos like this. And, I know fully well that lots of videos I do get suppressed, and I know there's ulterior motives, and I know that it's just the reality. It is like, I wish I had a bigger reach so that this was out there and people could see it, because it's just sad. It's so sad, because people will die, people will lose their livelihoods, and nobody will bat an eyelid. And the people who will be blamed will be the people who did not instigate this. They won't be the greedy people who are making all the money off this. It will be the poorest people who get hit by this. And it's already happening in terms of inflation, because inflation affects the poorest members of society first, not the richest. Remember that. So yeah, the banks, I don't know, but it is pretty obvious that all parties involved have a large incentive to have home prices consistently inflate. Banks' business model for retail has shifted away from margins between cost of funds lent out and interest income earned to pure volume. So there you go. Like they have become this model now, which is literally just based around volume, and they don't really care about the quality of the product that they are creating. And they're creating lots of products. Like, you might have $1 million of MBS, but then you've got $10 million that is betting on outcomes of the MBS, betting on derivative products that have been based on the MBS. And it's an insane amount of money. And that's why it scared me so much when we saw that number, 797 billion, I think it was, in these CLP loans, which was just in which was 2022 Q1 number, if I remember, just ballpark figure. But this really is just crazy. And John Galt says QT is starting in a week, lol. Yeah, I wondered when that was starting, because I've been thinking about that. I thought it had already started. Sometimes it's very difficult to tell, because we think that the Federal Reserve and the Bank of Canada have these mysterious powers and power over the bond market, but the reality is they don't affect it that much, because last year, when they were doing the massive amounts of quantitative easing, yields were rising. So that just shows you, they do control the short end for sure. So we're going to see that short end of the curve go up, which is going to really affect the businesses and the people with variable rate debt, which is so many people right now. And again, like, the popularity of the ARM mortgage is going through the roof in the US, and this was booming last year in Canada. So we're seeing the same patterns repeat in different countries, the same mistakes repeated over and over again, because it doesn't matter what country you're in. Humans are predictable. They act in patterns, and you can see those patterns on charts. You can see those patterns everywhere you go. So it's just kind of insane. The point at where we're at right now, I'm honestly like, what the hell? Like, I can't believe how fraudulent the financial system is. I can't believe how widespread fraud has become. And it's really just a nightmare, So it's absolutely the guppy life. Oh, dude, thank you. I'm not looking fresh at all, brother, because our hot water tank is busted right now. So we've got no hot water. Found that out this morning. It's absolutely just leaked everywhere in the basement. But luckily, we're renting this place, so we don't have to worry about the bill that's coming. But we do have to worry about how long it's going to take to get a hot water tank, unfortunately. But I hope everybody has got I hope everybody's got power back who was in Ontario, because I know there was something like 150,000 people without power, Kirsten, I saw her comment about that, and then I looked it up, and there was a lot of people without power. So I hope you guys are all okay there. But yeah, this is absolutely insane, guys, where we're at right now. The amount of fraud in the system. Go watch The Big Short. Because that's essentially, when the stripper is on the pole and they're saying that she's, all cash rich and they're lending to the strippers, the mortgage brokers, just think that's the drug dealers in Ontario. We got a real example that we just had right now on this show. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you don't mind, please clicky that like button. It's our only way of defying this YouTube algorithm that is constantly trying to suppress our videos, like the one I did on China last week. YouTube doesn't want me to talk about China. YouTube doesn't want to mention Loch Ness. There's lots of things. I got to be careful what I say. But anyway, guys, thank you so much. I love all you guys, and I will see you in the next live stream, probably tomorrow.